What's up guys, Jacob here, and I'm back again with another kind of weird thing, I'll be honest. I was doing some thinking, some soul searching, and I figured out that there are not a whole lot of videos on making YouTube thumbnails. If you're wanting to know how to make a YouTube thumbnail, then you've come to the right place. Now we're going to use Photoshop today. You can use things like GIMP, you can use Photoshop. This is going to be the quickest tutorial I can do, by the way. So you can go File, New. So I have a custom document for it. So we're going to go actually to default Photoshop size. So this is what you're pretty much going to see whenever you load up. So if you go over here to inches and make this pixels, you want to make this 1920 by 1080. You want your resolution, I set mine to 300 just so it looks good. And background contents, you can either do white or transparent. I like to keep mine on white. Sometimes, depending on whatever I'm doing, I'll switch it to transparent just in case. And you want RGB color. And all this stuff down here, the advanced settings, just keep the same. Working RGB is fine. So after that, if you click Save Preset, it will ask you what you want it to save as right here. So you can name whatever you want, include all of these things in that. And I mean, you can include or disclude any of these things. And I already have one, so you would click OK. I'm gonna go and load my thumbnail up here, and we're gonna do white background contents, and then say OK. And that's gonna load up your Photoshop document. So once you're here, you can do anything you want with it. I always click this to unlock the layer, and I always name this layer BG for background, just for organization. That's the easiest thing to do. Okay guys, so your YouTube thumbnail needs to be a few things. It needs to catch someone's eye, it needs to be informative, and it needs to really be simplistic. That's a really big trend right now. Simplicity is a big trend. You don't want it to be too crazy. You're gonna lose a lot of text, you're gonna lose a lot of information in that thumbnail. So we're gonna be using this video. We have one of these called You Need One, Phantom 3 standard footage, and we're gonna use that. So this right here is what we're looking at. This is the standard one. I intentionally didn't make a thumbnail for this one. We're gonna do it right now. Why do they need one? Why is whoever's watching this video gonna need a 2.7K $600 Phantom 3 standard drone? Now that's a pretty big thing to fill, right? You're gonna need to find a way to convey that they need one of these. So here's what I always do. Go to Google Images. Okay, so here we are on images. So you see all of these things. So if you type in just simple keywords, really, who doesn't like to fly? And people rarely see above clouds, right? But our drone can do that. Our drone can provide that. So I wanna convey why they need it. So we're gonna say Phantom 3 above clouds. Okay, and right now we're looking in here. One thing you can do to optimize this is to go to Search Tools, go over to Size, and select Large. And in doing so, you're only going to get really big images, so you don't have to worry about any pixelization or anything like that. And so let's pick an interesting background. So if you look for an image, these are all from YouTube actually, and I think we are going to use this one. Okay, so that's saved. Once you save that guy, you can, let's see, go down here, show in folder. So here we have it. This is it right here. Now the way I did it, I opened in a new document. If this happens to you, you can right click on the image, you can duplicate the layer, and it's gonna bring this up. If you go down here to document, you can select your untitled document, which is the other one, and say okay. And then it's gonna basically paste it into the other document. Now you can do file, place embedded, and you can just do it that way and find the image. This way works just as good. I mean, it's no big deal either way. A little more work one way than the other. I always go to blur, filter blur. I apply Gaussian blur to that, and I never apply too much of one, but it will help the text and assets stand out a lot. So I'm going to open this back up into Google Images, and we are going to look for just a high def picture of a Phantom 3 standard. Now let's see here. We're already set to large, and we want to pick one that kind of looks like it could be flying. This one looks really good because it's not directly straight on like this one. It's kind of skewed, so let's use it. So we'll go ahead and just copy image this time. So now you can go in here, click right here, and say Control V, and it will just paste it right on top. So now resize it, hold Shift to maintain that aspect ratio, and just resize it with your Move tool. And you want it to fill the entire screen for now. Right here, well, just like that. You want it all to fit on the screen. So now if you grab your Magic Wand tool, and you select this white, it's gonna do that, right? So make sure sample all layers is turned off. Contiguous, it doesn't really matter, but we're gonna set our tolerance right now to probably about 15 because it looks pretty straightforward white. And that's pretty much it right there. So if we hit delete, that's it. So we're gonna actually go through here. Make sure you delete everything that might look a little fishy, and anything that should be seen through really needs to be seen through. And that's pretty much all you have to do. That's really it. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna make it pretty big, and we're gonna tilt it a little bit, move it up here to the corner. You want it to be big enough that people can see, but you don't want it to overshadow your text, so we're not gonna make that happen. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna hold my control key, I'm gonna hover over the thumbnail for this drone, and I'm gonna click on the thumbnail while holding control. Now I'm gonna grab my gradient tool, and I'm gonna set that gradient tool to this preset, which is basically just black to transparent. This is a preset you all have. If you don't, just go to simple. For presets, click this little drop down and go to simple, and it will, you can append this and it will load all of these things. If not that one, that really should be it. I mean, that's the one it comes with by stock. So let's use that one. So what we're gonna do, make sure your layer is selected. You're wanting to do this too, and I just do this to provide maybe just a little bit of realism to it. Okay, so what we're gonna do, I'm gonna reverse that. I always do either diamond or radial here. So this one being radial and this one being diamond. You can do straight line, but in this situation, we're wanting it to look pretty much like this. So above the clouds, there's not going to be a whole lot of difference there, but there's just enough contrast between this and the background that it's going to look fine. So one other thing I'm going to do to this guy, I'm going to go to filter. I am going to go to sharpen, and we're going to sharpen edges here. And then that's about it. Now we can apply maybe even a little bit more blur to this background layer, just so it stands out a little more. Now that looks fine. That really does look fine. So now comes the text. You need to catch, your audience's eye. It needs to be visible. It needs to stand out. It needs to really mean your point. Something that everyone needs to know is whether or not the product is good, and whether or not the product is recommended. Now, what I'm gonna do is a little weird. I like to do it this way. We're just gonna put the word awesome in there, just because, it stands out. It's one word. It gets to the point. You can also do amazing. Really, any good adjective or adverb or anything really will get the point across really well. So I'm just going to put what we had before. I'm just going to put awesome, just like we did. Now, when you do this, to change the text, you just go up here. I have my Typekit fonts installed here. So if you click on Typekit and you have Typekit fonts installed, you can cycle through those. Now, these are my favorite Typekit fonts. We are going to use Alternate Gothic number 2D regular. You can download Typekit fonts using Adobe Creative Cloud suite, and you can get them for free completely, just like you can on dafont.com. And there's a link to dafont.com in the description, just in case you don't have Adobe CC and you have maybe CS6 installed or something along the lines. If you were to put this font, this text right here, you might think, that looks just fine. That looks pretty cool, actually. I'm going to put it behind the drone, and it's going to look kind of neat. But keep in mind that the timestamp, YouTube's timestamp, goes like right here, like this entire bottom corner. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to grab my Move tool. I'm going to make this just a little smaller. I'm going to put it up here, right up there. I'm going to grab the word awesome, and I'm going to use that timestamp to to my advantage. So we're going to just do that. It's right below there. And something you can do to kind of add a little bit of something to that text is you can bevel emboss. You could add a stroke if you wanted to. I like to add a drop shadow to mine. Okay, so there it is. It added just a little bit of something to it to make it stand out. And there's one more thing I'm gonna do. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look up lens flare. Now this is kind of more of a stylistic approach, and you can do this or you don't have to do this. It's really completely up to you. I just like how this looks. So we are gonna go and grab, what's a good one? Let's do this one and paste it. Okay, so what I'm gonna do with this layer selected, what was that just now? With this layer selected, I'm just gonna click on, okay, I'm gonna click on this blending mode here, and we're gonna set that to screen. Now it already looks pretty freaking cool. So here's with the flare, without the flare, with the flare, without the flare. And I just really like how these look. It just adds more of kind of a cinematic look to it. When you save this guy, just save it as a JPEG. That's all you have to do. I'm going to make this just a hair bigger. So thanks guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comment section below. And if you like this series of tutorials that I'm doing, let me know, and let me know what you'd like to see a tutorial on next. I'm trying to do these in a way that I would learn from. This one was a little easier than most. So hopefully you guys took something away from it if you weren't really sure how to do a thumbnail effectively in the first place. You can also go follow us on Twitter at TheJacobReview, links down in the description below, along with a link to that DaFont website I told you about. So thank you guys for watching, and as always, have an awesome day.